Welcome back to Mid 10, y'all. Well, we finished up baling hay yesterday. End up with 1,152 bales on the Kubota baler. So I told you guys I would do a baler review end of the year. So let's start off by getting out and looking at our setup. So people new to the channel who found this through other means or looking into this baler, I just want to make sure you guys know what setup we run. We run a 2090 case, I think it's on a BV4160E. That's baler I bought in end of March of 2023. So I got it into almost the beginning of spring this year, so end of winter, beginning of spring. I got it from Kubota. We did not have a baler. You can go back and look at our 2022 baling or hay section and see we ran my uncle's John Deere silage baler. We baled enough hay last year to get to be where we needed a baler too, because we were trying to run his too much, put too many bales on his, so we decided to buy a baler this year. So what I was looking for was an entry-level baler that was affordable. Kubota at the time had a deal of 0% down, 0% interest for 5 years. And talking to a couple other guys that I know locally, I know one guy that's running Kubota baler the last 2 years. I know a guy who had Kubota tractors. I know one who used a couple Kubota cutters, and they were real big on the Kubota insurance. Kubota insurance recommended you finance it, so you get the Kubota insurance because Kubota insurance was so good. We put 1,000 rolls on this baler this year. Have had no major issues out of it. It's ran pretty good. I want to get it unhooked, and we'll do a walk around, and we'll go over the issues I had with it this year, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and a couple things I've done to it to make it more user-friendly for me. So what we have here is a BV4160E Kubota. This is a common model entry-level baler. Again, I bought it because I needed an entry-level baler. It has a hydraulic pickup on it right here. So it's hydraulically picked up and down. That is one of the reasons I bought it. I've run a hydraulic pickup on my uncle's John Deere baler the last 3 years. I think he's had that baler. Once you go to hydraulic pickup, it's hard not to have hydraulic pickup. It came with a set of narrow tires. These are, what size are these? These are 11 L15 SLs. These are narrow tires. I don't like the narrow tires. They did not give me any trouble this year. I was afraid they would. Being narrow, I was afraid the baler would sink down some in some of our fields because some are a little softer than others, but actually it didn't. So I was impressed that the baler didn't sit down. This baler does not have a net wrap option. I didn't want a net wrap option. I just want a string. All my string goes up here. I can hold 6 bundles. 1, 2, 3 right here would be your, if I'm looking at the baler left side, and 1, 2, 3 would be your right side. And actually I've been able to put 4 bales of string in here. I run a nylon based string, and I can shove a 4th for each side in here if I really need to all day long. This right here, I know you're looking at this thing, well, that thing will hold string in there. This doesn't hold string in there. That just holds it until this closes. This bar right here on this lid is actually what holds the string in place. That's what holds the string in place, is that bar. So this is just sitting there while you tying it up. The marker wheels, you notice I have green and white here. I'm not too happy with these wheels. Gray and white is what they come with. They come with gray and white, and they show up really good at the beginning of the day. As you get in on the day, especially a day where you're knocking out a lot of rolls. Yesterday I baled 130 rolls slow. I could have run more. I haven't run slow yesterday. A lot of hay. You can go back and watch the previous video on that. Ran 130 rolls yesterday. Those wheels were really dark gray from all the dust. So these wheels are gray. When each wheel's turn gray, but dust, these white lines here blend in. and you can't see them. They just blend. It's too hard to see when the wind is being dusty and stuff. It's hard to see when it's just spinning. So I come back and paint these green. That's just a green color. It stands out good. That green will actually get darker. This gray gets darker and the green gets darker. So you still have a contrast in there. But that white, it blends in. You can't see it good. The tying mechanism on this baler is different. This baler ties from outside to center and then outside to center. Okay, so you have your arms here. You run here to here on one, and same thing on the other side. They do not cross. I like to tie so far. First hay cutting, I didn't have it set right. I wasn't putting enough string on it. You need a little bit of extra string on the outside edge, because if you break one on the outside edge moving it, you snap one, you start pulling it off, you'll unroll half that bale. And we baled about 500 rolls the first cutting, and I unrolled 2 out of 500. Not unrolled, but I guess pulled half the string off too. So second cutting, I come back and adjust. I put a little more string on it just to limit it off, to knock that out. With that being said, also that is why I paint these green, because these are critical right here. If one of these quit moving and you're not putting string on half that roll, it may stop on one roll. So since it ties from here to the center, if it quits running here, you're still tied from here out on that roll. Next roll, if you're not looking, you'll untie. You won't tie from here to here at all. You'll have half that bale unrolled, not tied, I mean. So it's critical to keep an eye on your string. I just took this cooker, what I did is took a rearview mirror, bent it down so I could see the wheels in the rearview mirror, and so I could see my hydraulic pressure on the baler. So hydraulic pressure setting is here. That's your pressure setting on the baler. So you can set how tight you want the baler. That way I can see that, and I can see my string going. Because you see here, now you see with it down, you're only seeing the top quarter, which is fine from the trash cap. You're sitting a little bit above it, so I can see that fine. If you do get a baler, I recommend putting a different color besides white on there. Just, if you're not running a lot of bales, it ain't gonna give you trouble. Wipe it off every day. But if you have days where you're hitting 75, 80 bales, you need to have a different color on there. I think I had 2 bales this year. Well, I painted it halfway through the second cut, and I had 2 bales before that I missed because I had that white and I missed it. Safety feature wise, for this thing, you have 2 lockouts for the gate. You have a hydraulic lockout, and then you have a manual lockout to lock your gate out. Both are handy, both work pretty good, no problem with that. The grease fittings are marked pretty well, so they're marked pretty good through here. It's easy to grease. There are a set of grease fittings on the bottom under here. There's a set of grease fittings on those silver brackets down there, and one on this bracket right in here. Now those, you can take off this shield here, which is one I don't really like. I know why Kubota did it, but I don't like this shield being bolted on. I know why it's there. It's bolted on because it don't rattle. It's a good tight shield, but it's got grease fittings behind it. And to grease this, I think those are 20-hour grease fittings maybe. So every 3 days to grease those, you got to take that shield off really to grease it. Now, you can go another way with it. What I do is I just lift the gate up here, lock the gate out, lock it out, and then I can reach in there and grease those fittings to get around that. Again, if you got grease fittings behind it, design engineer issues, I really would, I made it personal preference, I would like a clip just to be able to get that shield on and off. I mean, it's got slots holes, so you got to take the bolts all the way off. This is slotted. It's just aggravating having to get a wrench out to get to it. And again, that may be personal preference. That's the way I just don't like it. When you look at the other side, one thing I really like is this chain. That's a good heavy chain. That's your main drive chain. I have not seen a drive chain that heavy on a baler around here. John Deere chains were not that heavy. That's a heavy chain. That's your main drive chain. I like that chain. I like its tensioner system here. I put 1,200 bales to this baler, and this tensioner system is holding it. I've checked it a couple times. I have not had to retension that. The balers we've had in the past, you run 500 rolls through it, you want to start tightening your chains up and checking chains. I have not had to tighten that main chain up. It's been fine the whole time from checking it. Again, same grease fittings over here. Grease fittings are marked pretty easily to see them. Pretty easy to get to them all. Here's your main computer for the thing. This thing runs a Focus 3 monitor. Now, Focus 3 monitor, I've talked to you about it in other videos, is a good monitor. I have no problem with the monitor. The problem I have is I'm used to running a John Deere monitor. John Deere monitor, and the Focus 3 monitor are not the same monitor. They're different monitors. It's like taking an Android phone and going to the iPhone. Both work great. It's what you're used to. So the first season this year cutting with it, it took some getting used to the monitor. I like the monitor, I have no problem with it. I said it's just me getting used to the buttons, getting me able to use it. So on the Focus 3, there's a couple things on it that the economy model doesn't have. I wish you'd have, but again, I didn't buy a premium model economy. With the economy, it doesn't have the steering direction, which tells you if you're belting, if you need to go to the right or left with the bale because you're not level. You don't have it. And in thick hay and medium-sized windrows, that's not a problem. You run the tractor straight, and you don't have a problem with it. In real thin hay, you get a lopsided bale. But what we've run this year, we've run, I don't know, we've had just a few fields that were really thin hay. Not many. So it really wasn't a problem. Again, I'd like to have it. It's not on the economy model. Next baler we upgrade to, we'll have that option on there. Let's talk shear bolts. It comes with a couple of spare shear bolts here on your pickup. So it had 4. Notice I only have 2 now because I broke 2. There is a gear back here behind this plate here, right down here. And that's your shear bolt for your intake. Very easy change. You can go back to the last video I just made. Don't know what title of it is yet because I'm still making it, but go back to the last video in the hay field. You can see me change the shear bolt out. It's pretty simple change. Trick is just pick your intake up so you can turn the gear. Change it real simple. It takes you longer to get the shield off and get the bolt out of the holder than it does to put a bolt in there and put it back on. 17mm bolts here, that's 17. That's 10mm bolts, and then it's 10mm shear bolt. There is one grease fitting behind this spot here that I don't like on this gear. There's a double pulley on your pickup down here. This pickup has a grease fitting in the center joint of that one right there. So it would be here. Let's pull it down here. You have to get this off to get to that. I think that's a 40-hour grease. So it's once a week greasing. That's the one I don't like. You can't get to it with, you can get to it sometimes if it's set just right with the back of the baler open. Sometimes, but it's better sometimes to take a shield off. So you gotta get the shield off to get that. That's the only grease fitting I really don't, that frustrates me when I try to grease it. It's that grease fitting there. Pickup on this thing. I like the hydraulic pickup, love the hydraulic pickup, picks up good. It's got a lockout on it. It's got a lockout on the hose here so you can lock it out when you pick it up so it won't go down on you going down the road. Your guide here, what I've done is I've set my guide up a little differently than a lot of people. You can adjust this guide height up and down. Go back to my last video and look, and I'll explain more some adjustments I made to the guide and the reason why. You get in real thin hay, you want this guide set a little lower probably because the guide will actually spread the hay out. It'll spread it out across and makes you getting a bale easier. You run it too low on thick hay and you will plug the intake up on this thing. Last video explains that too. And that's aggravating. This plug intake up. It's not that bad. If your intake plugs up, take off your guide, which is this clip here, no on the other side, and then pull this off. You have a fancy little rake that comes with the baler right here. So you got a rake in here, you pull your rake out, which will reach back up intake, rake it out, put your guide back in there, and it should be no problem. With that being said, if you have a big pile in there and you got a lot of pressure on this here, you'll have a pressure against your stop right here. Move your finger, your pressure against your stop right here. And that guide will come off easy. These are 17mm bolts. What you do is take one of them off, your guide slides off, put it back on there. On adjustments of this, I've got this thing set loose. So it will flex up. It'll rock up and down some. It's actually picked up a little bit because the intake's picking it up right now. So you see it sitting on intake. Again, because the intake's up. But I've got it so it will push the hay down, but also flexes back up when I get a big wad in. So don't jam it up. Keep your windrows narrow with this thing. I run my rake 2 inches narrower than the pickup. I think that's why I got set to, maybe 1.5 inches narrower pickup. You need to keep your windrow a little narrower because these tires right here, these tires, I'm not really fond of the tires yet. I don't know if I don't like them. I'm just not fond of them. It's a give or take. I mean, they do a good job holding the pickup up. Problem is you get in a wide windrow, grass will go under the tire or hold it down, and then it will not feed up into your intake. It'll hold here and be held under here, and it'll slowly start to jam up and jam across the intake. Frustrating. Not really bad in regular grass hay. I fought it in Johnson grass. You get that Johnson grass hay, which is real stiff. I'm sure Sudan would be the same way, but Johnson grass was a pain because it's real stiff. It was real tall this year, and I fought with that because your Johnson grass hang out wide from the rake. You couldn't rake it up good. It'd get under your wheel, you jam the corner up, and you work your way across. And the next thing you know, your intake's jammed. Then you're digging it out. To counteract that, I figured it out yesterday in the last video. I know I keep saying last video, but I'm working on finding tips and tricks for this thing. The last video, I didn't run my intake on the ground. Now, intake's set to run on the ground. I run these wheels about a ½ inch off the ground. I just watch them. I make sure they stay about a ½ inch off the ground. That way, when the hay was wide and it would run out here, this wheel would not hold it to the ground. That intake would still grab it and pull it in, pull it up under the wheel. That worked really good yesterday. I still picked up every bit of hay in the center. Now, some of the hay on the edge that was under wheels, I didn't pick up, but it's too wide in reality. I do like the Kubota hitch, which is a swivel hitch. I like it better than that John Deere baler where he's running. John Deere baler's got a solid hitch on it. This one don't. This baler then allows that baler to flex a little more. It don't shake as hard. It don't shake a tractor. It pulls smooth across the field with that rotating hitch. I do like that hitch a lot. I guess the final question is, Jesse, are you happy with the baler? Yeah, I'm happy with it. Did it do everything you want it to do? Yes. And let's be honest about it, it's an economy model. So I'm not going to talk bad about it being an economy model. It's what I bought. I'd like to have other options. It's not going to because it's not premium. It's economy. I'm fine with that. For an entry-level baler, it's been a solid baler this year. It's baled everything I wanted to with it. All in all, at the end of the day, if you're looking at a Kubota baler, an economy model entry-level baler, this is a good baler to get you in the market. It'll get you there. It runs good. Now, I've baled grass hay with it. I haven't baled wheat straw with it. I haven't baled corn stalks with it. The only thing I've baled is grass hay. So that's a caveat for it. I've run grass hay in this all year. Well, that's my review. And again, that's one man's opinion. Other people have other opinions. You know what opinion is like. Everybody's got one. That's mine. Any questions, drop them in the comments below. Remember, thumbs up video, appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed it. That way you follow us along. You can go back to, I'll try to throw a link in here in a little bit. You can go back to 2023 hay cutting and go through all the stuff we went through this baler. I do go through some different settings in different ones about setting the monitor, how I set the monitor, stuff like that. So that's in there. Appreciate you guys joining us. As always, good Lord's willing, we'll catch you on the flip side. Till next.